Hi again, Mark here from Talkingbass.net. Last week I worked through one of my favourite Geddy Lee bass solos, and this week I'm going to be working through the bass lines of another one of my big heroes, Les Claypool. All three of these bass lines come from early Primus albums, specifically John the Fisherman, which is from the Frizzle Fry album, and then Jerry Was a Race Car Driver and Tommy the Cat, which are both from the Sailing the Seas of Cheese album. So if you've never heard of Les Claypool before, or Primus, give those two albums a listen and you'll get a good idea for what they're all about. And then you can try playing along with these bass lines. But be warned, these bass lines are pretty tough, especially for a beginner. So, even if you've been playing for a while, they can seem quite difficult. So, also bear in mind that Les Claypool sings while he plays these, so if you really want to fry your brain, give that a try too. Okay, let's start with John the Fisherman, which sounds like this. So this riff is a great exercise for learning how to play chords on bass and apply them in a groove. They can be quite tough on your hands to begin with, but after a while, once you've got this riff down and you've practiced it for a while, a lot of other chordal riffs will start to seem a lot easier, especially the ones by Les Claypool. So, I'll just work through the notes first. So we begin with this D power chord, this extended D power chord. So we've got root, fifth, and octave. So if you know anything about intervals, you'll get that straight under your fingers. So the frets are 5th fret A string and then 7th fret D string, 7th fret G string, okay? So there's 3 different ways really that you could finger this. You could play first finger for the A string for the 5th fret there, and then 4th finger or the pinky barring across the 7th fret, which is how I play it and I think how Les plays it, okay? That's the most straightforward way of playing it. Then you could also try playing with by barring the 3rd finger instead of the 4th finger. So that's the ring finger there for the 7th fret. So either 4th finger or 3rd finger. Or you could use the 3rd finger for the D string and then the 4th finger for the G string, okay? Okay? So 3 different ways depending on how you feel at the time, or if you're getting blisters on your fingers or anything like that. So that's the first chord to get down, okay? So we have that power chord and then we simply play the exact same chord down a fret, okay? So this is going to be D flat or C sharp, then G sharp and C sharp. So 4th fret A string, 6th fret D string, 6th fret G string, okay? So we have, okay? Now, in terms of this hand, we're strumming, okay? Now, you can put the thumb there on the string, you can anchor it if you want to, you don't have to, but I like to anchor it so that I'm ready for the finger picking later on. So, all you do is hold the hand in a loose fist and then simply strum across with the fingernails. That's it, so you're just letting the hand release like this, okay? So I've got the thumb there on the E string, just strum across, okay? Then when we play the second chord, we're going to bring the fingers back, okay? So we get this kind of action. Okay? Okay? So that's the first 2 chords. Next, we take that same chord down to the 2nd fret, so we're playing a B power chord. So 2nd fret A string, 4th fret on the D and G strings, okay? And then we simply move that chord up 1 fret at a time, okay? So we have B, then C sharp, okay? Okay, and that's it. So we have, we begin, D down to D flat, and then we come up B, C sharp, B, C, C sharp. And again, we're just using that strumming action, okay? Now, one thing that is worth bearing in mind is that when you play the first 2 chords there, D down to the C sharp, try to cut that C sharp a little short. It'll help with moving down to the B, and it also gives a better feel, okay? And that's how Les plays it. Okay, so that's the first part to get down. That's the strumming. Okay. Next, we have some finger-picked notes. So we have A flat, 4th fret of the E string, then open A string, then B, 2nd fret of the A string, and then C, 3rd fret of the A string. Okay, now the fingering for this, it's worth playing the A flat there with the 2nd finger. That way we can easily jump down to that A flat from that chord. Okay, then we can just play those 2 notes, the B and the C, with whichever fingers. I'm going to use 1st finger and 2nd finger. Okay, so all together. Okay. Next, we strum the same 3 chords that we played earlier: B, C, and C sharp. Okay, but there's a little gap before that. So, okay, so all together. Okay. Finally, we move back to the fingers and we play G, 3rd fret of the E string, open A, and then B, 2nd fret of the A string. So we have. Then we're back to the start. Okay, so it's worth remembering that the D down to the D flat that we began with is actually an anacrusis. It's actually coming in before the first B. Okay, so we're back to the start again. So you want to start this slowly and then just gradually build up speed. Now, like I said, these chords can be quite tough on your fingers. So, you know, if you start having problems, like even now, I'm starting to, because I've been playing it round and round, I'm starting to get a little bit sore on that joint there on the 4th finger. So if that starts to happen and you start to blister up or get sore, just move to one of the other fingers. So you can move down to that 3rd finger there for the bar. Okay, so it's a little bit trickier when you're playing with the 3rd finger to jump up. It's actually easier, the actual shifting with when you use the 4th finger. But like I say, if you start to blister up, just use another finger. So now I'll just play that riff round and round, starting slowly, and then I'll just gradually build up speed, okay? Little quicker. And okay. Next we have the riff from Jerry Was a Race Car Driver, which sounds like this. This was one of the first songs that I ever heard using tapping for a groove. And well, let's be honest, how many other songs can you name that use an atonal bass tapping groove as the basis for a song? It's incredible, really, and it's still funky. So this is a great thing to play. Now, I'm going to be playing it on 4-string and I'm going to be using 24 frets. You can only really play this with 24 frets because Les originally played it on a 6-string. Now, fear not, I've actually got a variation on this riff, an alternative way of fingering it so that you can actually play it with less frets. But to begin with, I'll just show you the original riff on 24 frets. So we start this riff with a simple 2-note chord or double stop up here on the C and the F sharp, okay? So we've got C, 22nd fret of the D string, and then the F sharp there at the 23rd fret of the G string. It's a little tritone pattern there. Okay, so we have that, and I'm playing with the 1st and 2nd fingers. Now, if you've never tried tapping before, very straightforward. You just take those 2 fingers and you just place them down on the strings, pushing down onto the fretboard, just like you would a straight hammer on. Okay, so we're just using these 2 fingers. Now, I'm also anchoring the thumb. I've put the thumb there on the side of the neck, just for a bit of stability. Okay, and that's all there is to it. Just play that chord. You might also notice that I'm muting with this hand to stop any kind of extraneous noise, and I'm also using one of these Groove Gear mutes, so I've got that wrapped around. You could just use a sock, but I've just got that there, and again, that cuts out any extraneous noise. So that's the first part, just get used to playing that chord. Next, we have a hammer-on with the left hand. So we're going to be playing the G sharp, 16th fret of the E string, and then we're going to slide down to the G, 15th fret of the E string. Okay, so we're just playing that with the first finger. Then we move back up to the chord here, and we're just going to play the same chord, but up 1 fret. So we're going to be playing the C sharp and the G. So C sharp, 23rd fret of the D string, and the G there, 24th fret of the G string. Okay, so same chord as we played before, but just 1 fret higher. So, okay, then we have a hammer on again. So we're going to be hammering on at the B flat there, 18th fret of the E string. And then we just work down 1 fret at a time, just over 3 frets, and like I say, in time. So, okay, so we've got 18th fret, 17th fret, 16th fret, but we're sliding down. Okay. Okay. Then we move back to our original chord there, the C and the F sharp. Okay, and we play a little rhythm on there. So it's just 3 chords, but I'm alternating with this little pat on the pat on the neck there, just to give it more of that funky kind of feel. Okay, so try again. Then finally we have C, C sharp, and D sharp. Okay, so this is 15th fret, 16th fret, 18th fret on the A string. Okay, and that's the whole riff. So you just want to start out slow and then just gradually build up speed. And you'll actually find that this riff is a little bit easier as you get faster with it, because when you're trying to play it slow and you're trying to get everything working with the slides and stuff, it can just seem a little tougher. When you build up speed and you get more into the groove, it all just kind of works. And bear in mind that Les actually plays a lot of variations on this. It's not like this all the way through. He's, you know, putting in little slides and all kinds of things. So, you know, and because it's so atonal, you can kind of do what you want within reason. You know, he just puts in all kinds of little things. So, you know, start out slow and then just gradually build up speed. Now, as I mentioned earlier, there is an alternative way of playing this riff without having to worry about having 24 frets. That's because of the chords that we begin with. Because that's a tritone is a fairly symmetrical interval, so we can play it inverted and it'll still have a similar sound. So here we have the C and the F sharp. Instead, we can play F sharp and C, so we just play them the other way around. So that means we can play the F sharp and the C there. So it has a very similar sound. So we play the F sharp and the C there, and then the G and the C sharp there. So in terms of the frets, we've got the F sharp there at the 16th fret of the D string, and then the 17th fret of the G string. So that becomes our first chord. Then we just take that up 1 fret, so we have 17th fret D string, 18th fret G string. So that's our new 2 chords, okay? So when we play that first chord, we then play on the A and the D string instead of up here on the E string and A string, because it's too hard to play them all together. You know, if you've moved these down here, trying to play them, you know, it's a nightmare. So we move these, we play all that down here. So we have G sharp to the G there, 11th fret down to the 10th fret. Then for the next run down, we have B flat, A flat there, 13th fret, 12th fret, 11th fret, A string. And then we have, for the C, C sharp and D sharp, we have 10th fret, 11th fret, and 13th fret on the D string, okay? So we have now, one thing you have to bear in mind, as you saw there, I made a bit of a mess of it, is that when you're playing these chords here, because we've got this C, C sharp and D sharp here on the D string, you've got to get that hand out of the way so that you can bring it through, because otherwise it's going to be muted, you're just not going to hear them. So, again, you didn't hear it. So bring that hand off. Okay, so that's the alternative way of playing it. Finally, we have the riff from Tommy the Cat, which sounds like this. Tommy the Cat is probably the most famous Les Claypool riff, and it's also one of the most difficult. It uses chords, just like we had in John the Fisherman, but this time we're mixing them more into a slap style, more into a funky slap groove. So, to begin with, we have a chord. So, we've just got an E power chord there. So we've got E and B, okay? So this is 2nd fret D string, 4th fret G string. Again, we're using that strumming action that we used in John the Fisherman. Now I've got my thumb anchored there on the A string and kind of pulling back over the E string just to stop any kind of noise that you might get on the open E and A string. So, okay, so there it is, there's that chord. Just get that down to begin with. Next we have a thumb slap on the open E string. Then a hammer on with the first finger to the G, 3rd fret of the E string. Then we slap twice on that G. Okay? So that's the first part. Just get used to that move from strum to slap. Okay? Then we have a pop and a hammer on. So we've got a pop on the F, 3rd fret of the D string, and a hammer on to the G at the 5th fret. Okay? And I'm just using the back of that first finger really to fret the F, and then hammering on with the 4th finger. Okay, so that's the first move to get. We've got that chord, slap, with the hammer on, and then the pop and the hammer on. Just get that down first. Now, the next part is the part that a lot of people argue about as to what's going on there, because, you know, if you listen to it, you can't really tell that much what's going on, because it goes by quite quickly, and, you know, a lot of the notes are actually ghost notes in there, and Les plays it different virtually every time. You know, it's kind of the same move he's going for, but, you know, the ghost notes in there change each time. So I'm going to show you, to begin with, the notes there without any ghost notes, and then we'll apply the ghost notes. So we have the A there, 5th fret of the E string, and then we pop the G string. Now throughout all of this we're going to be keeping that 4th finger there on that G, 5th fret of the D string. So we're going to be playing the A there with the 3rd finger. So we've got this weird minor 7th interval. So slap and pop, okay? Then we play 2 notes on the A flat, 4th fret of the E string, and again pop the G there, 5th fret of the D string. And then we move down to the G, 3rd fret of the E string, and again 2 slaps and a pop, okay? So just get used to that move to begin with. Okay, so then we can add it to the rest of the riff. Okay, and then we're back to the beginning of the riff, but there's more to it than just that, because there are some ghost notes. So again, let's just try that slowly. Now, the ghost notes happen at the end of the riff. So we can, instead of playing the octave there, instead of fretting that G fully, you can actually play it as, or just lay the hand into that home position I talk about a lot. So instead of playing the actual fretted notes there with that octave pattern, you can just lay the hand across. Okay, so. Okay, so we actually get these two ghost notes at the end. If you've got used to playing it with the octave already, it'll seem a lot easier, because to play the muted notes, sorry, the ghost notes, we just lay the hand flat in that position. So if you're already in that position for the octave, it doesn't, it's not too much of a stretch to move to the actual ghost notes. Okay, and that's the whole riff. So again, you want to start out slowly and then just gradually build up speed. You can try it with that octave at a slow speed. As you build up speed, it will automatically start to turn into the ghost notes, because you're going to be having to make the move back to the chord there. And that's partly where that ghost note comes into play. It's you're almost shifting the hand down a little, down to the second fret, just before you play the chord. So the actual ghost notes take place a little bit further down. You're actually moving the hand as you play them, okay? Okay, so that's my top 3 Les Claypool bass lines. Don't worry about it if they just seem too difficult for you at the moment. Like I said, these are really, really tricky for beginners. And, even if you've been playing a long time, if you're not used to playing chords in this way, or tapping, or slapping, then, it's just going to seem really, really hard. But, practice, 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 and after a certain amount of time, you will start to get it, and it will seem a lot easier. The hard part here is not necessarily the technique, it's making it groove. It's making it, playing it with good time and tone, okay? That's what you need to aim for. You'll get the notes under your fingers within, however long it takes you. After that, actually making things like a tapping line like Jerry was a race car driver, making it groove and actually playing along with a drum beat, that's the hard part, and that's the beauty of these bass lines and the brilliance of Les Claypool. So remember to check out talkingbass.net for hundreds more bass lessons. Just follow the link in the info below, and when you get there, check out the lesson map where all the lessons are organized for ease of navigation. Okay, so go check that out, and I'll see you next week.